Welcome to the Rose City, Rip City, Stumptown, and Bridgetown. Welcome to the 6th episode of My Real Portland, the podcast. I'm My Real Portland host, Joseph Lyons. I'm so grateful you've tuned in and you're about to meet 3 amazing Portland originals, a comedian, a storyteller, and a country folk singer-songwriter. Each My Real Portland episode features amazing artists and performers from all around the city. I'll ask them each the Fast 5, and then I'll throw in a game show on top of it all for a fun night out with friends, German food, and beer. Tonight's show was recorded live at Portland's Jade Lounge next to the Slide Inn at 23rd and Ankeny on September 11th, 2018. Speaking of Portland originals, this show is produced by myself, Joseph Lyons, Portland Realtor, helping home buyers and sellers make their real dreams become real estate. Putting the show together is my real dream, and I support this fun hobby with my professional day job in real estate. And my career is all word of mouth, so please tell others you know of My Real Portland, the Realtor, Joseph Lyons. That's josephlyons.com. And now, on with the show.
Always been home, I've always been here, I've always got time for one more beer. So pick up a beer and pull up a chair and strike up the band. It's My Real Portland.
Hello, Portland! Welcome to the 6th episode of My Real Portland, coming to you live from the verdant Jade Lounge. It's 23rd and Southeast Ankeny in my hometown, Portland, Oregon. This is My Real Portland, highlighting real people and real stories from all around the area. I'm your host, Joseph Lyons, and I've got a great show lined up for you this evening, including singer-songwriter Nikole Potulsky, storyteller Stacey Rice, and comedian D. Martin Austin. Well, here comes the rain again. Oh my gosh, have everyone else enjoying the Portland weather today? Yes. I mean, we have just come off of what is the hottest streak of weather in Portland since we've started taking its temperature, and it was so terrible. I had a cold for most of it, plus then all the smoke from all the wildfires that was here. I was just miserable. Anyone else? So I'm so glad that the rain is here, and my body just feels better, and my plants are feeling better. How's everyone else doing? Everyone else enjoying the rain? Okay, so the elections are coming up. Just 6 weeks from now. Is everyone excited? Elections are coming up? Yes! So we have some amazing races around town. Women of color are running for office all over the metro area. And on the U.S. House side, Jamie McLeod-Skinner has a real opportunity to make the entire delegation from Oregon in the U.S. Congress blue, which is really exciting. So my first guest is associate producer of the Portland Queer Comedy Festival and has been all around Portland, including the Helium Comedy Club and Fake It Till You Make It. Also a writer for the Portland Mercury. Please welcome to the stage comedian D. Martin Austin.
Oh, so many mics to choose from. So much overwhelming. Hi guys, how you doing? Fantastic. I am excited about the rain as well because I live in Portland. I've lived here for quite a while, and most of my friends are white, and I worry about them during the summer months. So this is a relief. Like Joseph said, my name is D. Martin Austin. What he did not say is that I am a queer comic of color, and like all other comedians, I have clinical depression. But unlike most comedians, I don't act on my suicidal impulses because I don't want to commit a hate crime. So that's working out nicely. And honestly, a lot of things are working out really well for me right now. Like my roommate just bought a clothes steamer, so like we're almost bougie enough for New Portland now. So it's great. We're gentrifying our own town. It's actually funny to me that clothes steamers are considered bougie, though, because they're more honest and like proletariat than a normal iron. Because a normal iron, you just show to people so they believe you do your laundry more than once every 2 weeks. And then you fold it, and then you do an extra step of I don't. No, never. I would rather floss, people. I'm not going to iron clothes. Steamers are honest. Steamers just say, I found some laundry on my floor, and I might fix the wrinkles before I leave the house. Maybe. Just maybe. I've also started seeing a partner. We've actually been together for 9 months now. Yay! Applaud me. Fantastic. You actually shouldn't applaud that, because if someone's measuring the relationship in months, they're not good at relationships yet. So, just so you know. No, my partner is fantastic. We were dry humping in the park earlier, which was nice. Okay, only I'm happy about that. Fine, whatever. I love doing things in public with my partner, though, because we have very similar genders, similar body types, and identical faces. Any other doppelbangers in the room? Anyone else making love to their clone? No, just me. Okay. No. I honestly didn't think that my partner and I looked that much alike, because, again, most of our friends are white, both of us are black, and your judgment can't be trusted on that. So, but it's true. We do look alike. And for those of you who have not made sweet, sweet love to someone who looks like your carbon copy, I just want you to know it is the best sex you will ever have in your life. And I also realize that's very narcissistic, because what I've actually just said is that all of my other sexual experiences have been great, excellent, if it weren't for the other participant. Like, had they just been replaced with another iteration of me, we'd be onto something. No, I had to accept that my partner and I looked alike because my brother pointed out. He was like, you guys look exactly alike. And it means more coming from my brother because we also look exactly alike. And I also realized that if you're following the thread of this conversation, it sounds like I also want to fuck my brother. And that is not the message I want you to walk away with. Unfortunately, it is the end of my set. So think of me what you will. Thank you guys so much. You're wonderful. I love you. I'll claim this as my own.
Thank you, D. Martin Austin.
Thank you.
So you have the same problem with your name as one of my favorite actresses, Esapatha Murkison. If I ever met her, I would have... Can you say that
again?
What's that?
Could you say that name again?
Esapatha Murkison.
So the answer is no, you can't say it again. Okay, just checking. No, continue.
What did I get wrong?
No, continue.
No, if I were to meet her, I would have no idea. Do I call you S or Apatha? I really wouldn't know.
What?
And so you are D. Martin Austin.
Yes.
And the first thing that I wanted to make sure was it was okay to call you D.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So far, every comedian that's been on my show has not been from Portland. So where are you from Portland? And
of course not.
I
moved to Portland from Wisconsin about 15 years ago.
And what brought you to Portland?
I moved from Wisconsin.
That's a perfect answer. I've actually never been to Wisconsin, so I can understand. So, what got you then into comedy? Were you doing comedy back then?
No, I actually moved to Portland as a musician, which I say too much to justify my existence. But anyhow, I moved here as a musician and did not succeed at that for 10 years. And then decided to start a career based on failure.
What was your gig? What did you do in music?
I played bass in a bunch of mediocre indie bands, everyone else who lives in Portland.
Right. So, do you include music with your comedy?
Sometimes. Every once in a while, I'll just do a little musical bit if I think it fits the show.
Speaking of music, by the way, so I recently started following you online, and you posted 5 artists who I had never heard of before, and I had never felt so old in my life. I mean, I think they all, except for Cardi B, started off with an @ symbol, which just... Like, I've never seen that before. I feel so old.
Another one of my friends, a comic in Hawaii, Tiffany Yamauchi, said, I don't know if those are musicians' names or your passwords. And I understand that.
One from every category, a capital.
Yeah, exactly.
So where do you want your career trajectory to head in comedy? What are you doing with it? What do you
I'm
want?
a comedian, Joseph.
Yeah.
I don't have plans. That's not why you become a comic. You don't become a comic because you're like, yes, I know exactly what I'm doing with my life.
So I recently, actually, by the way, online, when you mentioned today that you were looking for upcoming gigs, and you got a gig out of that, right?
Ironically, I got like 5 gigs, but none of them are like within the near future.
But that's fantastic.
It's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
Because I posted it as a joke.
But now you're going to be busier than ever.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, have you thought of like your career going towards sitcom or some like? Have you imagined what your sitcom might be?
I'm first going to try to see someone else's trans comedy performance on Netflix, and then I'll make that a goal. And then we'll see about a trans sitcom. One step at a time, baby.
How about a Netflix special?
That would be dope.
Okay.
Yeah, they have the 15-minute ones now, too.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and humble brag, because I like to do that from time to time.
Yes,
I was
please.
scrolling through those specials, because the lineup is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And I have worked with or I'm acquainted with almost everyone on that list right now.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting.
Yeah, so that's how successful comedians aren't. So, just so you know, all those famous comics hang out with me. Think about that for a moment. Okay.
But still getting at least that little bit of exposure.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
always exciting to watch our friends like get any level of
if
exposure.
nothing else, it's bragging rights within your friends.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So you're the co-founder of the Portland, or co-founder, associate
producer.
Okay.
The founders are actually Belinda Carroll and Andy Barrett.
Okay, gotcha. And of the Portland Queer Comedy Festival, which just happened in June.
Mm-hmm. Every June.
And how was it? So was this... I thought this was the
our
second.
The second. It's
okay,
going to
great.
happen again. You cannot stop us now.
So this is fantastic, by the way. Who did you have any headliners in your first year? Because you definitely did in your second.
We absolutely did. We had everyone. We had Guy Branum came up from LA.
Oh, that's right.
We had Julie Goldman, who came again this year, who's been on HBO. We just have so many great people.
Well, and then in this last season, you had
Jeffrey J., who's I think the only nationally headlining trans comic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Jeffrey J. I'll keep my eyes out. And then you had James Adomian, which is just one of my most favorite people in the world. So year 3 then is obviously in the works.
Belinda's already drawing up contracts for even bigger headliners because we like to outdo ourselves.
Now, I'm just going to ask this question: are you finding that the festival is getting even more exposure with Bridgetown being out of the scene a little bit this year? Because that tended to take so much of the energy towards comedy, and it was kind of nice that during around that same time, here's the Portland Queer Comedy Festival, right?
Okay, you already follow me on Facebook, so you know I'm overly political and honest about everything.
Me too, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we fuck with the same circles.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. We appeal to a slightly different crowd, so I don't know that the two festivals ever interfered or had any impact on one another.
Sure. Well, interesting. All right. So you recently wrote an article for the Portland Mercury, which I really love, which is called The Introvert's Guide to Pride. It supports all the kinds of different ways to celebrate Pride, including the freedom to avoid large crowds and loud noises.
Yes.
So that really resonated for me. What was the reaction to your article like?
I have only gotten positive reviews from that one, and that made me so happy.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, every time Pride comes up, everyone asks, "What are you going to do?" And I'm going to stay at home where it's nice and quiet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just binge watch like
Right.
stuff on Netflix. That's
Yeah.
what like I do every other day.
Happy Pride.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's do some plugs. We had talked about some upcoming performances that you have. Where can people follow you, and where are you going to be at?
I am all over social media on Twitter, Facebook. I don't actually do anything on Twitter because it's sad. But I waste a lot of time on Facebook, so you can see me post all sorts of problematic things there. You can see pictures of my ass and meals I've prepared on Instagram. 2 things you should put in your mouth. And so that's where you can follow me. My most current upcoming shows this Friday, I'll be at Funhouse Lounge performing on Smut, which is hosted by my liege, Belinda Carroll. And
Awesome.
the following Saturday at The Lamp, performing with Andy Awancio from Seattle. She's producing a trans and queer brunch show. She's doing it monthly now at The Lamp called Brunch is a Spectrum. The following Tuesday, I will be at Alberta Street Pub on Karina Lucas's show, The Gay Agenda. And then October 1st, this is the big one, the organization Speak, the Sex Positive Education and Event Center, which is a local sex positive sex worker advocacy group who I work with extensively, which is why I'm plugging this so hard. We're doing a discussion panel on the intersections of blackness and queerness, in particular in entertainment and business in Portland.
I'm just taking that last bit in. Like, that's just like everything that's important in the world happening
That's
within
how
just
we get
one
down.
show. That's awesome. I am so excited to hear that. All right. So that sound means you're not done, and it's time for tonight's Fast Five.
All right, let's do this.
You thought you were getting out of here.
Oh, yeah, I was really happy. Okay.
Aw.
I love you. I love you, Joseph.
Thank you. Okay, so Portland needs a new official food. What official food should be Portland's official food?
I'm going with poutine because it is from a different country, so it's exotic. It's mildly pretentious, and we can just claim it as our own, like we did with our slogan.
I think that's fantastic, but I need to know more. We claimed it like our slogan. What's our slogan?
Keep Portland Weird, which is actually from Austin, Texas.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
totally stolen.
But in a good way.
I suppose. So what fall activity are you most looking forward to? Watching the Swifts return to Chapman School, picking a pumpkin at the pumpkin patch, the start of the Blazer season, or pumpkin spice lattes?
Okay. I'm going to say drinking pumpkin lattes at the pumpkin patch while avoiding Blazers fans.
I like that mix,
Yeah.
and avoiding Blazers fans at the pumpkin patch
Yeah,
is relatively easy to do.
Yes, yeah.
What's the silliest street or place name in Portland?
Cooch, obviously. we all know this, right? We all know that Cooch is ridiculous. It would be slightly less ridiculous if it was pronounced couch, as it should be, but
Right?
yeah.
I love that we have Cooch Street.
There are people in other cities writing jokes about that street name.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and they've never even been there. So.
Which of these free Portland destinations have you been to? Shakespeare's Garden in Washington Park.
Okay.
Have you?
Possibly.
Possibly. The amphitheater at Reed College.
Most likely.
The pendulum at the Oregon Convention Center.
There's a good chance.
Or the weather vane at Pioneer Courthouse Square.
I do believe I have been blackout drunk at all of those places at least twice.
I'm just thinking if I have been, and I know at least one.
Yeah. With or without pants.
I,
Not to put you on the spot.
not sure. It actually...
It depends on who's listening.
It literally was decades ago, so...
So yesterday, okay.
Okay, so what do you want to watch more? The Real Housewives of St. John's or MTV's The Real World, Lake Oswego?
I'm going to say Real World Lake Oswego because it's the program America deserves right now.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. D. Martin Austin. All right, so my next guest is someone who I saw back in March at an event that I co-sponsored with Paul Iarbino called Nevertheless She Persisted. And it was an evening of 5 fantastic storytellers, one of which was Denise Pena, who I mentioned earlier in the show. And another presenter was Stacey Rice, my next storyteller. And I had been thinking about doing the show for months, and the minute that I saw Stacey perform a story with Nevertheless She Persisted, I knew that I wanted to have her on the show. And so this just seemed like the fantastic evening to bring her on. And it turns out that she knows my third guest, Nikole. So it's a real family that we have here today, which is really fantastic. So please welcome to the stage storyteller Stacey Rice.
Oh, thank you, Joy. Really appreciate that warm welcome. Thank you very much. So good to see everybody here tonight. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Let's tell a story. I was 5 years old in 1962 in a small little town in the mountains of North Carolina. And I just knew that something wasn't quite right in my world back then. Everybody that I encountered saw this little boy with a big smile, but that wasn't what I saw. For I just deeply knew that I was actually a little girl inside. And that's quite a quandary, isn't it? What do you do with that? It wasn't until about 5 years later, when I was 10, that I found someone else who had that same quandary. My family, my granddaddy and granny, and my dad and my mom and my brother, we all piled into the station wagon and headed across country to see my granddaddy's aunt in Albuquerque, New Mexico. About the second night in, we stopped at a little roadside hotel in Oklahoma, and we just got back from dinner, and there was this news show on television. We were all kind of gathered around looking at that, and what I saw, I could not believe. There was this flashed up on the screen, this picture, this kind of 2 pictures side by side. One was of this Army guy, GI, and on the other side was this beautiful blonde, who just had these massive, lovely red lips. And the lead into that news program was that, come meet the ex-GI who's now a blonde bombshell. And I think I was breathing. I'm not real sure about that. But I can remember looking around at my family to see, okay, is anybody reacting to this? They weren't, thank goodness. And then they went into an interview with this was Christine Jorgensen, who was the first well-known person in the U.S. to have what they called a sex change operation back then. And as she was telling her story, I really couldn't believe what I heard, because she said, you know, when I was a little boy, I always thought I was a little girl. Oh my God, wait, did she just say what I think? You mean there's somebody else like me? But what do you do with that at 10 years old in 1967? Gosh, I didn't know anybody in my little small hometown that I was living in and grew up in that actually would be a Christine. I didn't know anybody that would be that. Of course, it was pre-internet, and we had maybe 3 channels that you could watch on TV. It wasn't until, gosh, much later I even found there was even a word for what I was going through. And it was when I was in college I found the word transsexual. And that was the old-timey word for transgender. So I finally knew, like later on, kind of who I was. So, gosh, what do you do? I mean, I had really no way to tell my parents, my family, for some reason. I don't know if I was afraid I was going to lose them if I told them this secret. So what did I do? I just started acting, and I became an amazing actor. I knocked that male role out of the park. So much so that I think I should have gotten an Academy Award for it. I was really pretty good at it. And I also think I probably should have gotten an Academy Award for costume design because because of the clothes I was wearing, but I also, if you can picture this, I had a big bushy beard, and I hid behind that for years. It was the safest place to be, I thought. So I just kept acting. I acted through a marriage. I acted through a child being born, my dear daughter Natalie, who's back fighting hurricanes in North Carolina coming up in the next few days. Hope they're safe. But I just got to a point that I just couldn't act anymore. You're trying to live this dual existence that inside of you is somebody that nobody else can see, and you're trying to navigate that world. I think sometimes I feel really blessed that I really just didn't have a breakdown, actually trying to juggle all that and just holding all that within. So I found myself at home one night as the acting was coming to an end. It was one of those beautiful North Carolina mountain winter nights, when it's crystal clear as a bell. And for some reason, I was sitting in my living room, and for some reason, I decided that I had to get out of that living room and go someplace. So I just put on my coat and walked outside. And I stood out there, and you could see your breath, and I was just looking up at all these stars, and I thought, man, there's just, I've only got two choices here. I can either try to move forward and try to find some place for my life, which was like, oh no, I can't do that. But the second option sounded really appealing, and that was I could just kill myself. And I'm here to tell you that felt so incredibly good and so peaceful when I thought about that, that you no longer have this internal monologue and struggle. I thought, holy crap, that would be heaven, actually, and not have to deal with that anymore. But, luckily, I had a little voice that I heard, I'll say it's my guardian angel, which I think it was, said, no, Stacey, you can't do that. That's not a good option. My daughter at that time was 10. We was already divorced and separated and divorced. And you said, what is that? How is that going to affect her if you do that? Your other family members, how is that going to affect them? You can't do it. You really can't do it. And I'm arguing. Like, no, I don't think I can still do the other, that's fine. But that little voice said, just take baby steps. Don't have to do it all at once, just take baby steps. So I stood there and looked up in the sky and thought about it a little longer, and that did feel right. That voice was there, and it was very real, and it was very true. And I said, okay, I don't know how in the hell I'm going to do this, but okay, I'll take baby steps. I hope it works. So that's what I did. I started taking baby steps. I started going out as my female self. I was still living in the little small town that I grew up in of 2,000 people. My first venture out as Stacey was at the local grocery store in my little hometown. It was a buy low supermarket. I had it all planned out. Being the good Virgo that I am, I had, okay, I'll go on a Tuesday night. There won't be many people there. I'll do this. I'll park right there. I worked on how I looked. I tried to present the best I could since I hadn't even started transitioning at that time. So I got in my little Ford pickup truck, and I drove over to the grocery store. And luckily, there was no cars in the parking lot, which was fantastic. And so, except maybe 2 or 3. And so I walked into the store, and I'm trying to think, okay, am I doing this right? Am I female enough? What am I doing? I don't understand. I grabbed a card and started just wandering aimlessly up and down the aisles of the supermarket. And good God, I was putting all kinds of crazy stuff in my cart because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, when I checked out, I had a menagerie of things, that's for sure. Drano and some, overripe avocados. It was just like kind of crazy. But I'm going through the store just to kind of get a feel for how it felt to be my female self out in public. And I round one of the aisles, and there's a woman standing there, and I stop and look at her, and she looks at me. It was one of my high school teachers. And there was this amazing sense of kind of like in her eyes that she knew who I was. Like, this person looks very familiar, but something's not adding up. I don't know. My heart was beating out of my chest because I thought, oh my God, what is it? And we were stopped. I mean, we were looking at each other. And I said, what am I going to do with this if she asked me something? I had the fight or flight reflex so strong that actually I could have jumped over the aisle into the next aisle just to get away from that. But I somehow got it together and rolled past her, and she didn't say anything. She just kept looking at me as I passed. And as I passed by her, I said, okay, I've got to get the hell out of this store. I've done it. I've done enough. Yeah, okay, good job on your first time out. So I actually went through the checkout, which was my crazy stuff. And I walked outside, and oh my gosh, that feeling of that, I did it. I actually did it. I was out as myself. That felt so good. I wish I could say that led to transition right away, but it didn't. There was a lot more still left to do. I went through electrolysis to get rid of that big bushy beard. That'll definitely test how committed you are to your trans journey. Oh my God! There would be. She was working on, and it's not just one time they go through and clear your face. They have to keep going over and over and over, especially because I had a very thick beard. So it was like 4 whole complete go over through my face, and so I would sit there, and the tears would be rolling down my cheeks because it was so painful, especially around your lip. And the electrologist was just, "Oh, Stacey, I'm so sorry, but it was okay." I knew that once I got to that point where I could see my clear face without that beard, it was going to be amazing, and it sure was. I found a lot of support along the way. Trans support groups back in North Carolina, believe it or not. Asheville, where I actually was born and raised, actually is one of the oldest trans support groups in the United States, which is kind of a bizarre thing. Asheville's progressive, but that's for the South, not here. But so that was lovely. I had amazing mental health counselors that were there, and I don't know how anybody does this journey without getting some help. It's just too tough and it's too hard. Those baby steps continued. The years went by, and I just kept taking baby steps, maybe 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward, but I just kept trying to move forward. And then one day I found that those baby steps had led me to the front door of Duke University Medical Center in Durham, North Carolina, in the endocrinology clinic there. I had an appointment to get my first wonder drugs, estrogen and testosterone blocker, or as I like to say at that time, is a better living through chemistry, because it really was. But I got, about 6 months after that day I was at Duke University Medical Center, I got the most beautiful gift from the universe. I woke up that morning, walked into my bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and I was getting ready to brush my teeth and wash my face. I looked in the mirror, and there was a female face looking back at me. My female face. 6 months of estrogen had softened my features enough to where, my female face had emerged. It was the first time that I had truly seen myself in the 42 years that I lived on this earth at that time. The very first time. The amount of joy that brought me still resonates with me today. I still feel it. And you know what? I always knew she was in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey Rice.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad that you knew just right where to put yourself. That's so fantastic. Just sit right on up there.
I want to
We're
sit
gonna
in
have
your
ourselves
lap,
a
but I
chat.
guess I'll sit over here.
So, I have gone to electrolysis as well.
Oh.
I went twice on my back, and I said, no, that's enough. I am keeping the hair on my back. It's much too hard. So I can't imagine. That is rough.
And you're paying for it.
Well, yeah, and I was like, at a certain point, I was like, this isn't worth it to me, but obviously worth it to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the feeling, like I said, I mean, that feeling that first time that I actually could put foundation on my face without there being a beard stubble. I mean, it sounds like a little thing, but God, no, it was huge. I mean, it was so huge. Plus, that shadow was gone. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was incredible.
I will never know what it's like to have that, because I have this constant perma-shadow now. I'm not going to ask your age, but you did give away your age and your story. May I ask how long it's been since you've been transitioned?
Oh, yeah, 18 years.
18 years,
yeah.
fantastic. And so
that's 60, 42 plus 18.
So I wasn't doing the math, but that's fantastic. And by the way, you don't. I'm not. I mean, it's so. I mean, right? I mean, one's not supposed to say you don't look your age, and then that also can be sometimes that's not what I want to say. See, and I love that this is a podcast. All this cut out. No one will ever. It's just you lovely people.
Well, like I said, it's why it's better living through chemistry.
Right? No, I would have never guessed your age. Not that I would have. But so that's been 18 years, and that started in North Carolina. How long have you been in Oregon?
Almost 7 years.
So that was 12 years of your life that you were in North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
Wow. And so, what was the experience like to be there and then come to Oregon? What was the feeling like? What was that difference like?
Well, there's amazing, lovely things about the South, but there's a lot that offsets that. It's fundamentalist religion permeates everything in life back there.
I mean, clearly political issues with North Carolina.
With the bathroom bill, which is just, it's craziness.
Exactly.
But so it really, you had to be very careful. Even in Asheville, like I said, which is a pretty progressive place for the South. I'd say probably Austin and Asheville are probably the two most progressive places in the South. Mm-hmm. But it's like progressive down here versus Portland way up here in Seattle. It's just such a difference. I was never 100% out back in North Carolina. I was probably about 70%, I guess, if I had to. And the reason why is because there's no protections back there. Like we have amazing protections in Oregon, with employment, housing, if you're LGBTQ, especially for trans folks. Back there, there's nothing. And so if they, my fear was always if they got a whiff, if I had shared that I was trans, I would probably not have a job. I mean, that's just to be expected. So
was part of your move to Oregon political in nature?
Well, it ended up being that way. I had, a dear friend and her husband that I knew back in Asheville that had actually moved to Portland and is retired. Their daughter's out here. I came to visit them back in 2011, I guess it was now. I had never been to the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, my.
Yeah. I'd never even been on the West Coast except for LAX 3 times.
Wow.
So, but I'd always knew that there was just a different life and culture here. And so the first day or two I was here in Portland, I couldn't believe it. My friend took me to a lot of lovely places, met a lot of lovely people, and just the culture, the energy, everything was so different than the South. I mean, in a freeing way. The South always felt like a prison to me on so many levels. Here, I just thought, what? Oh my God! Nobody really cares that I'm transgender. What? That wouldn't be the case back there. So 2 days in on my week's vacation, I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to move here," and I did. 6 months later, I had saved up a little bit of money. I was trying to get a job here from back there, and it's just, it's 3,000 miles away. It was just too far. So I just decided just to pack up and come. I had a place to stay for the first week. I had enough money, I thought, to get by for 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
And when I got here, the first thing I did, I started volunteering at Q Center, the LGBTQ community center here in Portland. And luckily, that led about 2 to 3 months later as the admin assistant position there. And I ended up working there for over 5 years.
Wow. And then in your last position, then you were executive director?
Yeah, co-director, yeah.
Co-director. And so the Q Center is the largest LGBTQ SIA plus center in the entire Pacific Northwest, right?
That's correct.
Tell me, what are some of the services that it provides?
Well, the Q Center provides a lot of lovely services. It's open 7 days a week. We have an amazing, I'm still not working there anymore, but I'm still talking about it as we. They have an amazing senior program for 55 and older LGBTQ seniors. They get siloed a lot these days. It's an amazing program where they can come together to have all kinds. They do wonderful things, chair yoga, weekly Meals on Wheels, and all kinds of great stuff. Large part of what Q Center does actually is information and referral. The last year I was there, we got over 7,000 requests for information.
Wow.
Like, where's a gay-friendly doctor, or who's seeing trans patients, or those kind of things. But I tell you, one of the most important things is just that it's open every day of the week, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, except for Saturday. And even in Portland, you need a safe place sometimes to be if you're LGBTQ, especially trans folks. My time there, we found that a lot of trans houseless folks could come and stay with us until we closed at 9, and they had a safe place to be. And so we need that here, we really do. A lot of trans folks are moving here, just like myself, because there's incredible services here for trans people. And it's there, and it just provides an amazing service.
And yet, despite all of the amount of services, it can be kind of hard to figure out and navigate how to access all of those services. So the Q Center provides, probably, it sounds like, especially through INR, a really great hub.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So before you were with Q Center, you were building houses for a time?
Yes, I was. Not physically, but...
Okay. So what were you doing? What was that like?
Well, I was in corporate world back in my acting days. I worked there. I was in corporate sales for 10 years, working for a big German chemical company, BASF, and I traveled the country in Europe selling a fiber that we made.
Wow.
And that was from 1988 to 97. There was really no way that I could transition on that job. There's just, I'd have to come out to over 100 different customers. And plus, being the company it was, the culture was very conservative. So what I decided to do, both sides of my family have always been in construction. I actually worked construction during high school and college, digging ditches. So I'd always been around it, and I thought, well, this will be a great way for me to break out of this corporate life and be able to start my own residential construction business. I had all the contacts, and that it would give me the time to explore Stacey and to find her, and that I didn't have to worry about being at a regular job to do that. So I started building spec houses. I would do around Asheville. Asheville's always a very in-demand place for Floridians, especially.
Sure.
And so it was a great market there. So I started building spec houses. I had subs that did everything. And I loved the process. My God, I would do it again in a heartbeat. It was amazing.
great market for building homes here.
I know,
I
I know.
Yeah, and we have people in real estate and mortgage here in the audience. So just in case you need to make
Yeah,
some
okay.
connections.
I'll file that away.
So you're now with the City Club. And what's the mission of City Club? I've heard about it for years, but I've never really known what it is. And what do you do there?
Oh, yeah. City Club is this amazing 102-year-old institution in Portland that it's been around forever. It tackles civic issues. It promotes civic dialogue. City Club for years has done a Friday lunch where we have everybody from the Governor Brown, to whatever panel we want to put together for people to come together and hear that. It's we have a huge research work that we do. We just got through researching a bunch of ballot measures that are on the ballot this fall, and membership takes a vote on what our findings were with that. And there's also we do a lot of advocacy as well, and so my job there is just to kind of oversee all three of those programs. The thing, I've been there since February, and the thing that really excited me about this job was the fact that this work was already happening there to take this 102-year-old City Club, which you could imagine what the demographic is of that. And
I don't have to imagine. I kind of am it.
I saw you last week at the forum. No, I'm just teasing.
An old white male.
Yeah. So the work that's being done is actually to make it more inclusive and diverse and socially just, which really excited me to take on that work. What better place to do it? Is an organization that has that deeper roots in Portland. And it's happening, and it's very exciting, and it's lovely.
And how has the organization been towards queer issues? Has that been something that attracted you, something that you're hoping to continue to advance with City Club?
Yeah, we hope to advance. We have lovely queer representation on staff in all our different boards and committees, which is lovely. Our board chair, Colin Jones, and I, Colin's in community as well, and we are producing a quarterly LGBTQ Friday forum.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so to shake things up for the first one, we did one called Religious and Queer.
Wow, 102 organization doing an event called Religious and Queer.
Yeah, it was,
awesome.
And I only got one email. Before I could answer it, I had to wait for a day. But other than that, it's a very welcoming place, and so we're going to try to do a trans forum soon, probably people of color, trans folks, leaders in Portland, and so yeah, it's going to be kind of fun to kind of shake things up a little bit with that. We first thought we thought we might combine several into one. And we came up, actually Steve Novick, who was on our Friday Forum committee, came up with this title. It was called Gods, Gays, and Guns. And we thought about putting all that together into one forum. We thought it was a brilliant idea. But
that would definitely get a lot of press, that's for sure.
Yes, it would. You gotta shake things up. You can't just go softly into the night. You gotta kind of stir the pot a little bit.
I'm trying to come up with a good joke that all the gays should have guns, but I can't make it work. Okay, so are you working on a storytelling event in the future? I love the story that you've told.
Oh, thank you.
And this, I have to admit, the second time that I've heard it, with a couple of little changes that you've added in, which is phenomenal. By the way, if you're interested in seeing Stacey's performance, you can go to ourboldvoices.com, and it's linked right there. Your whole performance.
Oh, thank you.
So, are you working on more storytelling with Paul, or on your own?
Yeah, I got a few things in the works. Paul and I are working on kind of doing a 2-act one act kind of thing that where he would have one part of the show, I would have a part of the other. Ooh. And we would just make it more, it would be more multimedia. I mean, kind of showing, just kind of glimpses of my life is that I described in my storytelling. You actually would see it. Uh-huh. And so we're kind of excited about that and trying to see what we can do. We're just at the very beginning of that. I'll also throw out there that I've been writing a book.
Ooh.
Yes, and I have the manuscript is done.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks. Thanks. I've just started querying literary agents this past weekend. Very excited about it. The title is A Transgender Guide to the Universe.
Oh, gosh, I love that.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good feedback, yeah. Thank you. And it's talking, it's kind of part memoir, but it's also part an educational and kind of a spiritual guide, actually. Because I deeply know and believe that the transgender journey is a spiritual journey. And you have to, it's a lovely journey of confronting and dealing with lots of things like self-love, which is a big thing.
Do you think that everyone who goes through the journey has tapped into that spiritual aspect of it, or is that something that you would be able that you're going to be able to talk about and maybe help others through that may not have experienced that as fully?
Well, in the LGBTQ community, we've kind of lost our spirituality because of what we hear from the pulpit, from the churches. I mean, God in the South, Jesus, you could, no pun intended, you could, you're flipping through the religious channel and you'll find these sermons about it, just demonizing LGBTQ people and how you're going to hell because of who you are. You hear, we've heard that in our churches and in our lives. And so what does it do? That just breaks you off completely from any spiritual connection because you don't want any part of that. It's just, right. It's just, it hurts my heart desperately, deeply, how religion is used against people in so many different ways. I had a priest, I was going to this, I love rituals, so I was going to this Russian Orthodox church. And I love the candles and the chanting. This was down in Raleigh, North Carolina. Loved it. Knew the priest's family real super well. We got to know each other without having them over for dinner. This is before I transitioned. Mm-hmm. And just became really great friends. And so I was already started hormones. I said, well, I need to talk to him about the fact that I'm going to be transitioning, but I still want to come to church there because it fills my soul. We sat down and had this conversation, and the first words out of his mouth to me were, you're going to hell, right?
Yeah.
And it was devastating. So I told, there's a side of Stacey, her twins called Leslie, and when Leslie gets upset, it's not a pretty thing. It's usually mostly cussing. So I told him I didn't need his goddamn approval what my journey was. So that ended my relationship with the church at that time. But that's a very a typical story. So what I hope is that maybe my book will help folks, and we worked on this some at Q Center as well too, trying to find that connection again. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of ways to do that. Nature is my church now. That's where I find it. I'm very spiritual, but you're not going to find me in a church. I'll have to say that's for sure. But there's lots of other places and ways you can find that. And
right.
But we've been scared away from it, mm-hmm. being hurt by it actually. Yeah.
Right, and actually that reconnecting with ourselves, the reconnecting mm-hmm. with one another, the reconnecting with the world, it's also interconnected. And so, but that's lovely that you get to explore all of that through your writing.
Oh, I know,
and
it's
your storytelling,
wonderful.
and that we get to look forward to a book coming out.
Yeah.
So
fingers crossed.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's we're gonna do a music cue right now.
Oh, okay.
And that sound means it's time for tonight's second Fast Five. Stacey, are you ready for tonight's second
ready.
Fast Five?
Yeah.
Okay, see, now I get to cut all this out again while I look for tonight's Fast Five again. Okay, so Portland needs a new official food.
Mm-hmm.
What should Portland's official food be?
A sushi burrito.
I am so on board with you.
Yes.
I have dreamt sushi burritos and what I would put in it.
Oh my God! It's the most amazing thing. Across from where I work, right across from the big food court pod on Alder and 10th. I'm obsessing over this sushi burrito. It's so amazing. Plus, I mean, I think you can put Portland, Pacific Northwest ingredients like salmon and tuna, but it's just so freaking quirky. I mean, just like Portland. So I love that.
It's so the sushi is very ocean-like, and so it's still very Oregon. No, really, I have thought about.
Have you had one?
Honestly, no, I haven't. I have actually dreamt about sushi burritos. I didn't know they actually existed.
Oh, really? Well, please come have lunch with me next week. Then
We'll walk across.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
All right, well, it's a date.
You won't. You'll love it.
I can only imagine. Okay,
Yeah.
so what fall activity are you looking forward to more?
Mm-hmm.
Watching the Swifts return to Chapman School, picking a pumpkin at the pumpkin patch, the start of the blazer season, or pumpkin spice lattes?
Well, for the longest time, I liked pumpkin spice lattes until I found out all the chemicals that they put in.
I mean, that's amazing, right?
I know, and I thought, well, no, because I try to eat organic. Why am I drinking this? This is kind of crazy. So it would definitely be the one at Chapman School.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
No, I haven't. It's on my list, and I saw a Facebook post today that they were showing that they were doing their thing.
It's time, yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, but Ernest, you live 2 blocks away? 1 block. Yeah, and our office is just right there.
Well, Ernest's going to have us over for dinner then first.
There you go. Hey, we'll bring the sushi burritos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What's the silliest street or place name in Portland?
Just like D, Cooch. Oh my God, what is that? I went around for the longest time saying couch, and nobody corrected me for the longest time. And they said it's actually Cooch. I went, what?
And I grew up here. I knew it was Cooch the whole time, and I never knew it was really kind of a funny word until I was 15. It was.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it's not spelled that way.
No. But did you know that Gleason is actually Glisten?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was another one. Yeah.
That everyone knows. Right?
Plus, I said Willamette
We'll
when I first got here too. So
did you really?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I did. Well, see, I'm from the South. I mean,
Had you known of Willamette, Illinois, when you?
I did know of Willamette, but I don't know if that connection was made. Maybe so. I don't know.
It's one of those weird ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so which of these free Portland destinations have you been to? Shakespeare's Garden in Washington Park?
No.
The amphitheater at Reed College?
Maybe. I don't know if I knew that's what it was called, but I think I might have been there.
It's really pretty. Okay, so the pendulum at the Oregon.
Oh my God!
Center.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing. Yeah, I was at an event there and just happened to wander over and see that, and I was like, I almost missed the rest of the conference because I was out there watching it.
I remember when I was a little kid and that was built, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's huge.
It's cool.
Or the weather vane at Portland. Let's do that again. At the weather vane at Pioneer Courthouse Square.
Actually, I do, because I have been there every day because I catch the Max right across the street. Right?
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Well, if you go to the weather vane at Pioneer Courthouse Square, right next door is Spellbound Flowers, which is owned by Nikole Belle, who was a guest on our first show.
Oh, cool.
So stop by and pick up some flowers from Nikole Belle. Okay, so what do you want to watch more? Real Housewives of St. John's or MTV's The Real World, Lake Oswego?
Well, I live in St. John's, so there's not much drama up there. So that'd be we're all pretty laid back up there in St. John's because we see our beautiful bridge all the time.
Right.
It'd have to be the Lake Oswego one because my dear friend Melissa, who was supposed to be here tonight but had a family emergency, she's another Southern girl. She lives in Lake Oswego, and she is quite a character, so she would be perfect for that show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Stacey Rice. So My Real Portland is brought to you by me, Joseph Lyons, realtor with Cooper Realty. I help home buyers and sellers across the Portland metro area make their real dreams become real estate. Learn more about me at josephlyons.com. All right. I've got names in this pint glass right here. And I'm going to draw 2 names to come up here and play My Real Portland, the game show. Name number 1 is Cupcake. Cupcake is coming up to the stage. Wait a minute, there's only 2 names in here. You didn't put your name in? Gina. Gina, who's getting a drink, is going to be our second guest. Okay, so I grew up watching TV in Portland. So I have 7 questions about the Portland television history. And after I ask each question, if you think that you have the right answer, you'll buzz in by saying your name. So we're going to give it we're going to have a little test question. This TV show was famous for the dream of the 90s being alive in Portland.
Gina. Portlandia.
That is correct.
Can I pick another name?
Sure.
Okay.
What name would you like to pick? Or are you going to tell us?
Oh, Princess.
Princess. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Princess
couple.
and Cupcake?
Yeah.
Okay.
We make a good team.
Okay, now this question is an audio question. McLean Stevenson played a radio talk show host on a sitcom set in Portland in the mid-1980s, years before Frasier would steal the idea and set his show up in Seattle. Name the sitcom.
I want to say WKRP, but I think
That's
that was
Cincinnati.
in Cincinnati, yeah.
Well, you can still go with that if you'd like. It's really wrong. Princess. Because this is an audio question, I'm going to give you both a chance to answer before we go to the audio answer.
Oh, I do not know the answer.
You do not know the answer?
No, thank you.
Let's
Bill.
hear the answer and let's see if you can figure out the title when you hear the theme song.
Still do not know the answer.
So the answer is not an audio answer. After all, the answer is Hello, Larry.
Yeah.
Hello, Larry.
Okay.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry. It was a lot funnier with the theme song. It was really funny. Okay. I have to tell you, this next question is going to make it really sad now because I had planned on there being like really funny theme songs in between here. Okay, so this is going to be really sad. What former local TV show had a crew member that was recently sent to jail for 30 years for sexually assaulting 11 victims?
Princess. Ramblin' Rod.
No.
Doesn't that seem plausible?
Oh, that hurts. No, I'm sorry, the answer was grim. But Ramblin' Rod was another answer to a totally different other question in here. That
Oh, I thought we were doing vintage.
No, that's fun. I know. It's only recently former. So, okay. Speaking of Grimm, Rebecca Schaefer. No one? Okay. So speaking of Grimm, Rebecca Schaefer was a promising young actress from Eugene and once attended Lincoln High School. She starred in a hit show with Pam Dauber in the 80s as an actress who moves from Oregon to San Francisco to live with her sibling after their parents are killed.
Princess? Mork and Mindy?
No, I'm sorry. Cupcake for the Steal?
Fish out of water.
No.
I can see it.
Did you think Mork and Mindy? I did too, right?
No, let's try going to the audio cue for the answer.
Hi, I'm Patty Russell, and this is my sister Sam. I just moved in. We haven't lived together since we were
My
kids.
sister
I was raised by
Sam.
Agnes. Things sure have changed. I used to dress her. I can't wear this out.
This is all in the intro right before the theme song starts.
I feel like you're just like opening your brain and we're having a little peek inside right now.
Really?
Yeah.
With the theme song?
With this whole thing, this whole game show.
Oh, that's funny, because it is kind of just like that.
Yeah, I think so.
I love that. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
That's great.
Okay, so here's your next
It's like we're
question.
binge watching.
Here's your next question. Since the third episode of its second season, what show has mentioned Portland's Powhurst-Gilbert neighborhood intersection 132nd and Bush at the end of every episode?
Go.
No?
Cupcake,
yes.
What is Law and Order?
No. No, and it's an audio answer, so Princess, you get a chance too. Any ideas?
Oh, I thought I got to hear the audio first.
No.
Dang it.
No,
You got me stuck on math. It was since the third episode of the second season, it's mentioned the intersection every time. The answer is, trying to read your mind, Never Neverland.
No. Let's go to the audio answer. It's Cops.
Wow.
For 30 years,
Wow.
the outro of Cops has been a police report at 132nd and Southeast Bush. I am glad that no one in this room knew that. Okay. This question, if neither of you two people get this, no one will. What former host of AM Northwest, math pictures going on in their head right now, they know all of them, is currently starring in a production of Anne by Holland Taylor, the story of Anne Richards?
Cupcake.
Margie
Boulay.
Margie Boulay is correct!
Cupcake for the win!
So,
Nice
oh my
work.
gosh, are you guys tied? I think you guys are tied. So we're going to have to go to a tiebreaker question. No, that's right. I had 7
That was
questions.
generous.
I had 7 questions. I have
Okay.
2 more questions. Okay. Former Beaverton and Portland resident Ian Carmel is an Emmy-nominated writer for which late-night television show?
You want to take the first guess?
You go for it.
The Late Show.
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. No, Stephen Colbert.
Oh, do I have to say the person's
Yeah,
name too?
I just said it.
Late night show. How about Jimmy Kimmel?
No.
Ooh, that was a good guess.
No, he's a writer on the Late Late Show with James Corden.
Oh,
So-
the Late Show,
The Late Late Show.
not
You
the
just
Late
said
Show.
I did.
Which doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Okay, so
Television obscura.
okay,
right
so
here.
all right. So you're still tied 1-for-1. Grant High School graduate Matt Bronger starred on one season of a reboot of this Fox TV sketch comedy series.
I don't know. Princess.
Cupcake.
Cupcake.
Living Color?
No! I'm so surprised.
You're so surprised with how this has gone so far.
Probably don't know.
Oh, this is going to be
Mad
trouble.
TV.
Mad TV.
I should have known.
Okay, so you're still tied 1-for-1. I'm still the last two questions I have here get very, very easy. So the person who answers this next question will probably win the big prize, which is 2 tickets to Schooled on Thursday night with Our Bold Voices, and a My Real Portland pint glass. So here's your question.
Elbows out.
Are you ready? All right. If you were a child competing for the best smile on a popular children's television show in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
what show would you be on?
Princess.
Princess.
Ramblin' Rod.
Ramblin' Rod.
Winner.
Which was very wholesome.
Very wholesome. No one went to jail that we know of. So congratulations, you win a My Real Portland pint glass, and so do you, Cupcake.
Oh, yay!
We're all winners.
My next guest is a Portland musician who has been in my consciousness for years and has been planning, and I've been planning on having her on the show for months. I recently listened through her entire 2017 album again, and it's simply amazing. Plus, recent videos of her performances online are simply extraordinary. I'm so happy to have her on stage with us tonight. Please welcome to the My Real Portland stage, the fabulous Nikole Potulsky.
I'm so happy to be here. I just have enjoyed laughing so much at the beginning of the show with Dee, and my heart got all warm and fuzzy and teary when Stacey was telling her story. I feel so honored to hear that story. And I actually remember the moment I met you, Stacey, that I just felt joy fill the room. And every time, ever since that I see you, I fill with joy next to yours. So I just appreciate you being in that field and making the choice to go for it. I really appreciate that. I wasn't sure what songs to play tonight, and actually hearing what folks talked about kind of cleared that up for me. I have lived in Portland about 14 years, and I grew up moving all over, and one of the things I came to Portland for was to heal, and like you do in Oregon. And one of the things I did is I went to a special kind of therapy where we talk to our inner child, like you do in Portland. And I was, having this moment where I'd told a story a million times, like really hundreds of times, about when I was a small child, I was in a house fire. And I sat down to take it more seriously and really have that conversation. And I just grabbed my guitar and I just started talking to myself as a kid. And this is the song that I ended up writing. Doors closed, the alarm is on, the house is empty, everyone has gone. What you gonna do now? What you gonna do now? You hear them come up the stairs. You're still screaming and nobody hears. The siren stops. The house goes dark. You smell the smoke. You can feel the sparks. Just get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Kick and scream, punch and shout. 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 Get out. Get out. You hear 'em come up the stairs. You're still screaming. Nobody hears. You can't go home. You can't go on. You can't tell anyone. You don't tell anyone. Just get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Kick and scream, punch and shout. 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 Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. No one asks, and you don't tell that you came here from some kind of hell. What you gonna do now? What you gonna do now? What you gonna do now? What you gonna do now?
Oh my gosh. Wow. The power in your voice is phenomenal. How long have you been singing?
Oh, golly. Well, you know, honestly, I remember vividly my family always telling me to stop singing because I would yodel, and I can't yodel. There are these Dolly Parton songs. I spent a lot of time in Alabama as a kid next to a jukebox, and my family always owned bars, and so I would try to yodel like Dolly Parton.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So I was like 5.
So just you have a version of a Dolly Parton song, Little Sparrow, online that just is so amazingly captivating. We talked about it a little bit over email. It's a song that I have loved in Dolly's voice. It's a song that rarely a song like that where it's so identified with a person. It's hard for another person to do it and make it their own. You definitely made it your own. How did you hear Little Sparrow?
Well, when I first heard it, I was just like, it's how does it go? It's like, little sparrow, precious, fragile little thing. Little sparrow, flies so high, feels no pain. And it's a song about a woman who's broken by a terrible man. And the first time I heard it, I thought, I don't know any fragile women.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really resonate. But it was so beautiful, and I just loved the sound of it. It was so haunted. And I just had this moment about 3/4 of the way through where I just had this like yeah, I don't know fragile women, but there is something that does get broken inside of people and innocence taken away. And what's it like before that moment? So I found a new appreciation for that song.
Oh my gosh, that's what a beautiful way to describe discovering the song. That, and especially that it didn't connect at first, and you found your way through it. That's what a fun journey in music. So what's your journey that brought you to Portland? What was that like?
Well, I was living in a van on purpose down by the river. I was traveling around the country living. Seriously, I was like, I quit my good job. I sold everything I owned because my father died, and I didn't know. I had just done the next thing in front of me. I'd always just like, get the good grades, go to college, graduate from college, get a job, do the thing. And my dad died young, and I couldn't see a dream that he'd even had, let alone if he'd followed one. And so I just wanted to pause my climb to see what is it that I really felt called to do and where I really felt called to be. And it was on that road trip. I left on April Fool's Day from Missouri, and I drove south through Arkansas and Texas, through East Texas, where I would rather chew my own arm off slowly, West Texas, I'm sorry, than drive through again, and found my way to, the West Coast and up the 101 and along the beautiful coastline, and I got to Portland, and I really felt like it was the first time in my life that I felt like I just belonged here.
So you didn't set out for Portland?
No,
you just
I wandered
through.
I slept in my van on Mount Tabor. Because it was like this is a very nice neighborhood. I'll be very safe in my minivan here. It's very nice. There's a bathroom that opens at 8 a.m. I can wash my hands. It'll be lovely. Yeah, so I did, and then I stayed at the hostel on Hawthorne, and for a few nights.
Wow.
Yeah, and then years later, I had a bunch of friends that we all convened at this spiritual retreat in Missouri. And somebody said one summer, hey, we're moving to Portland. This was 3 years later, 3 years after I'd wandered through, and I'd always had this I love Portland. And I was partnered to this guy at the time, and we were like, we should go to Portland. So we came to visit Portland with 17 of our closest friends from around the country. We all convened in Portland one weekend, and I'll be damned, we all moved here within a mile radius of Mount Tabor.
Oh my gosh.
I might add. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, super cool.
What's the songwriting process for you like? Are you disciplined? Do you make a project of it every day? Do you go off and woodshop your projects after a certain while?
Yes, I do all those things.
Both those things.
Sometimes a song will just arrive to me. Like one of my favorite songs that I've written I was in the bathtub, and I was just laughing about a story somebody told me, and then I just started singing into the bathtub, and then I just sat up and I was like, oh, that's really good, and I just kept singing it and repeating it until the song was finished, and I just kept singing it till I could get out and get dried off and write it down. And other songs are like I get a great chorus and it just sits there in a voice memo for a decade, and then I listen to it and then I'll put verses to it. And sometimes if I block out time to allow things to come, it does.
That's wonderful.
But it's also a lot of driving in the car, or whenever I just really relax and reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And especially that work can be relaxing at the same time. That's wonderful. Who are some of your dream artists to work with?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this. Lori McKenna. Lori McKenna is a singer-songwriter from the Northeast, and she's a mother. And I have to tell you, being a working mother of any job, being a mother is a job, and earning money is another job, and making art is another job. It's a lot of jobs. And Lori McKenna figured out a way to, she's got a long-term partner who also helps support the family, which I don't. But she figured out a way to raise her kids make music, and build a little regional fan base. And at some point, Faith Hill heard a song of hers and then recorded some of her songs. And then she started going to Nashville and co-writing songs with some of the best writers in Nashville. And now she's like one of the top dog songwriters. She's a phenomenal songwriter. She wrote Humble and Kind that Tim McGraw recorded. She wrote Girl Crush that I think not Sugarland, maybe Sugarland recorded. Anyway, lots of songs. So Lori McKenna is one for sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Not a name that I know.
And I have to say one more songwriter. His name is Even Stevens. He's from the 70s. I just found out recently he's still alive. He used to write with Eddie Rabbitt. And when I was a kid, next to the jukeboxes in Alabama, my favorite songs, turns out, were all written by this man named Even Stevens.
Oh my gosh. So
I wanted him to be queer so badly, but he is not, unfortunately.
So was he responsible for I Love a Rainy Night?
Yes, he was.
Oh my gosh. There's a line in that song I know.
Oh yeah, there's a line in that song that's like, truck stop cutie coming on to me, tried to talk me into a ride, said I wouldn't be sorry. But she was just a baby. I was like, now that's a good line. That's Even Stevens. Anyway, him.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Now I'm hip to a new 70s writer. That's just what I need.
That is what you needed.
So what projects are you working on now, and how can people follow you?
I'm performing a lot in Portland this month because I haven't, and I got homesick, and I'm just like, your hometown, there's nothing like your hometown crowd to make you feel way better. Yeah, so I'm glad to be here. And tomorrow, I am going to launch a Patreon account. Do you know about these things? You are all invited to join my Patreon community. But what I'm trying to figure out is how do I keep the trajectory that I've been on, which is I've been going to Nashville, I've been meeting awesome producers and publishing, and there's just all these great songwriters. There's all these things that are possible for me, but it's really hard to do so many things at once. So I'm trying to figure out creative ways to build a supportive team, and one of those that's available is this Patreon thing. So I'm going to give it a go.
I love that.
Yeah.
So people can follow you on Patreon, and you've got gigs all around town. And now it's time for tonight's final Fast Five.
Oh.
So are you ready for tonight's final Fast Five? I am
so ready for this. I've never been more ready for anything fast in my life.
Okay, so Portland needs a new official food. What official food would you think goes along with Portland?
I'm super clear on this. Dandelion greens.
Oh, yeah.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're edible. They're free. They're kind of, punk. This is all Portland, dandelion greens.
When I was a kid, I weeded my yard all the time, and this was back in the 70s and 80s. Had we known then what we would have never planted
They're iron
lettuce.
rich. Why would you bother? That's right.
I know, right?
It's free. It's available. It's everywhere.
We planted lettuce and we could never even eat it because it was all bug eaten, and yet the dandelions just fine, just everywhere, That's right.
Come the apocalypse, people. Acorns and dandelion greens. We're all right. We're all right.
What fall activity are you most looking forward to? Watching the Swifts return to Chapman School, picking a pumpkin at the pumpkin patch, the start of the Blazer season, or pumpkin spice lattes?
Picking a pumpkin at the pumpkin patch.
Right? The only right answer, by the way.
I knew that.
All the other
I
guests.
knew that. Did I get an A?
I know, right?
Okay.
It really is. Who has not gone to the pumpkin patch here, by the way? Anyone? You've all done it? Okay, good. What's the silliest street or place name in Portland?
I'm going with Gleason.
Gleason?
I mean, Cooch is an obvious choice, right? Couch, Cooch. It's just very uncomfortable for all of us. The whole city's uncomfortable by it. We don't like it. But Gleason, I just for the life of me, I can never spell it right. I don't ever pronounce it right. I dislike that it's Gleason.
Oh, really? Oh, that's funny because I can't imagine it any other way now in my head, but I can understand. So my answer for that, by the way, was a place that was on I-5 headed north. And they've changed the name of it now. It used to be it's now called the Failing Street Pedestrian Bridge. But they added the street just a few years ago. It used to just be failing pedestrian bridge. I love that place every time. It made me laugh every time I went by it. Okay, so which of these free Portland destinations have you been to? Shakespeare's Garden at Washington Park?
No.
No. The amphitheater at Reed College?
Is that where they do the big orchestra stuff outside and the chamber choirs?
It's
and all that
outside,
kind of
and they've got all the steep
You know, I've
seating
heard
and all
about
that.
it, but I've never been there.
It's really pretty.
I should go there.
The pendulum at the Oregon Convention Center?
I haven't.
Isn't that
I haven't.
weird?
It sounds so cool. I went to, there's a place in Missouri called the Merrimack Caverns. It's just south of St. Louis, and they have this huge pendulum inside. Just was there a few months ago with my kids, and they showed us how it worked and everything. We were like, unfortunately, this pendulum is non-operational. It's inaccurate. It doesn't work.
Oh, that's hysterical.
So this one works.
Yes. So, you know, the two towers at the convention
Yes.
center, there's a pendulum that hangs right in the center of one of those, and it swings back and forth, and it hits metal things around the whole rim of the underneath that tower. It's crazy. Okay, and the weather vane at Pioneer Courthouse Square.
Yes, I've spent a lot of time in our city's living room.
Uh-huh.
I'm a community person. I
Extra
go hang in the
points.
living room. I don't just stay in a coffee shop looking at my computer like the others.
Hey, you actually get out to a coffee shop, though. Or actually,
I leave my house.
there you go. Okay, so what do you want to watch more? Real Housewives of St. John's or MTV's The Real World, Lake Oswego?
Joey, I don't want to watch these shows.
I haven't watched a full episode of either.
Just so good. I go good. We could be friends. I just don't want to watch these shows.
Okay, you want to close us out with a couple more songs?
Yeah, I sure do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay,
Nikole Potulsky,
absolutely.
everyone.
Little transitions. Oh, I really want Ernest to hear this song. Let me wait till he comes out of the bathroom. So this show is sponsored by Cooper Realty, is that right? Yeah. Sort of? Ernest Cooper sold me my house when I first bought one back 13 years ago when I was married to a great big old Marine fella. Because that's how queer I am. Beat that. No gold star. Anyway, so I wrote a song kind of that talks about that. So I want Ernest to hear about it. No, he just got to come out of the bathroom. Sometimes the rain comes too soon and stays too long. Some years you're on your knees praying for the rain to come. It's just the way it goes. It's out of our hands, not in our control. It's just the way it goes. 2 children and a home, but we couldn't get along. I'm still here, he is gone. It's just the way it goes, the way it goes. It's out of my hands, not in my control, just the way it goes. But time moves slow, I'm learning how to let go. But I still want someone to hold. Is it wrong to hope just the way it goes? It's out of our hands, not in our control, just the way it goes. Sometimes the rain comes too soon, stays too long. Some years you're on your knees praying for the rain. It's just the way it goes. It's out of our hands, not in our control. Just the way it goes. It's just the way it goes. The way it goes. Thank you. Thank you. I got one more song I'm going to play for you. That last one is not on my album, and neither is the next one. I co-wrote this song. Well, let me say it differently. I took a friend of mine's poem and turned it into a song. Her name's Isla Suzanne, and she's a poet here in town. I got to grab my notes for a second, though, because it's pretty new. So, have any of you been birding in southeastern Oregon? I haven't, but there's a place down there that is about where people go, and it's in Harney County, which there are fewer than X number of people per square mile, and therefore it is still considered the frontier. And so folks take these big buses and they go bird watching out in the high desert. What's that place called? Let me see. Field Station. It's called Field Station. So this song's called Field Station. 52 miles south of French Glen, on Highway 205, there's a place once called the White Horse Ranch, but you won't see any cattle behind a fence. Just wild horses driven by stallions, led by a mare across the fields and the canyons, throwing dust in the air. Ooh, 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 ooh. Field Station is a place where travelers stop for fuel and a cold milkshake, and the line can get so long it'll wrap around the building like a desert rattlesnake. And a great horned owl flies low in the valley, lands on a willow tree, and his body can turn all the way around, and he can see what's coming, and he can see what's behind us now. Behind us now are wild horses driven by stallions, led by a mare across the fields, outrunning cowboys, throwing dust in the air. Ooh, 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 ooh. Bird watchers, ranch hands, buckaroos, they're standing in the line, and a motorcycle gang led by a red-haired woman head back up 205, 205, like wild horses driven by a stallion, led by a mare across the fields and the canyons, throwing dust in the air. Ooh, 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 Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nikole Potulsky. Hear it again for all my guests, Nikole Potulsky, Stacey Rice, and D. Martin Austin. And one more hand for yourselves, the My Portland audience. You've been a great audience. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Our next show will be here live at Portland's Jade Lounge at 23rd and Ankeny on October 9th at 7 p.m. Happy hour is at 6:30, so get here early, and good night.
Always been home, I've always been here, I've always got time for one more beer. So pick up a beer and pull up a chair and strike up the band. It's My Real Portland.